Ever since I was a kid, I thought if I worked hard, kept my head down, and stayed the good daughter, my efforts would pay off one day. I didn't crave luxury or ask for the latest gadgets. I wore hand-me-downs without complaint, skipped field trips when money was tight, and even took on babysitting gigs at 13 just to buy my own school supplies. My parents always said, "We're saving for your future, honey." And I believed them. Naively, wholeheartedly, blindly. Please subscribe to our channel and tell me in comments from where are you watching this video? College came and went with no talk of that future fund they once whispered about. I didn't ask, I just assumed times got tough. So, I applied for scholarships, picked up extra shifts at the bookstore, and managed to graduate, barely, without drowning in debt. Still, I told myself, they did what they could. Maybe they'll help me now. But that help never came. When I mentioned grad school, they changed the subject. When I talked about putting a down payment on a modest apartment, they sighed and said, "Money's tight." But that all changed the day my little sister Olivia got married. Olivia, the golden child. She never had to ask twice for anything. Designer dresses at prom, a brand new iPhone every Christmas, a spring break trip to Cancun paid in full, because she deserves to enjoy her youth. I convinced myself it was because she was younger, that maybe our parents learned to relax over the years. I even helped her plan her wedding, folding invitations at 2 a.m., sewing mismatched ribbons into table runners, and organizing her chaotic bridal shower without blinking. Then came the wedding. It was beautiful, lavish even. Custom florals, a 5-tier cake, and a string quartet. I didn't ask who paid. I assumed her fiancé's family had chipped in. But 3 days later, as I sat in my small apartment eating reheated pasta, my phone lit up with a picture from their honeymoon. Olivia grinning in a luxury infinity pool. In Santorini, a caption that read, "Thanks Mom and Dad for the unforgettable honeymoon gift. First class all the way." I stared at the screen, unmoving. First class. Greece. On my parents' dime. I called my mom immediately, half hoping there had been some mistake. Maybe Olivia had been exaggerating. Maybe their new in-laws had pitched in and the post was just for show. But when my mother picked up, her voice was airy, delighted, floating on post-wedding euphoria. "Oh, isn't it lovely?" she said. "We wanted to do something special for her. She's been through so much with the wedding stress." I felt something inside me crack. "And me?" I asked quietly. "Did you ever think about doing something special for me?" The silence on the other end of the line was louder than any scream. My dad chimed in. "We gave you everything we could, but Olivia needed this. You're strong. You always manage." I hung up. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just sat there in the dark, realizing the truth I had refused to see for years. In their eyes, I wasn't the daughter they needed to invest in. I was the one they leaned on to survive, but never celebrated. But that was the last night I let that be my story. Because while they spent their money on her fantasy, I was about to rewrite my own reality. And this time, I was going to take back everything I deserved, with interest. When I left that day, I didn't slam the door or yell or even cry. I didn't give them a dramatic moment to latch onto and twist. I walked out silently, with the weight of every overlooked moment pressing down on my shoulders like a lead blanket. But something else was there too. A spark, something hot, defiant, and quiet that I hadn't felt in a long time. Maybe ever. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to be the bigger person. I wasn't trying to smooth things over to avoid making them uncomfortable. I was just done. I moved in with my friend Sophie. She didn't ask questions, just handed me a cup of tea and a soft blanket and said, "Stay as long as you need." And I did. For a while, I didn't do much at all. I just existed. I sat in the warmth of someone else's kindness and let the numbness wear off slowly, like frostbite thawing from frozen skin. And when the pain returned, sharp and aching, I didn't run from it. I let it wash over me. I cried for the little girl who never got picked, for the teenager who worked 2 part-time jobs while her sister got weekly allowances, for the college student who applied for scholarships in secret while her parents helped Olivia choose honeymoon destinations. But slowly, I began to breathe again. One day, Sophie came home to find me surrounded by books, notes, and my laptop. She smiled, handed me a cookie, and said, "She's back." Because I was. I was back, not to prove anything to anyone, but to reclaim myself. I dug into every opportunity I had once believed wasn't for people like me. I found a remote bootcamp program in digital product design, exactly what I'd always been interested in, but had been too afraid to chase. I enrolled, I studied. I worked freelance on the side. Every project I took on was a step away from the girl who sat at that family dinner table, smiling through her heartbreak. It took 8 months of nonstop work, late nights, and moments where I almost gave in to self-doubt. But then it happened. I landed a full-time design job at a well-known agency, the kind that offered health benefits, stock options, and remote flexibility. I remember staring at the offer letter with shaking hands. My starting salary was more than both my parents had ever earned combined. I moved into a small apartment of my own, not fancy, but mine. The first night I slept there, I didn't even have curtains up or a couch yet, but I laid on the floor with a cheap pizza and a glass of wine and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. The kind of peace that isn't loud or flashy, the kind that wraps around you like a warm hug and says, "You're safe now." Then came the twist. 3 months into the new job, I got a call from Olivia. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I could already feel the script. 2 days later, a message came through. "Hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I was wondering if you could help me and Ben out. We had to cancel part of the honeymoon and are trying to plan something new. Mom said you're doing really well now and maybe you could spot us a loan, just until we get back on our feet." The audacity nearly made me laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was so painfully on brand. Here they were again, reaching out only when they needed something, never to ask how I was doing, never to say sorry or thank you, or even we were wrong. They didn't know who I had become. They still saw me as the girl who would say yes because she feared losing whatever crumbs of love they dangled over her head. But that girl? She was gone. I didn't even entertain the thought. I typed one message. "I'm not in a position to help, but I hope you figure things out." And I meant it. Because I was in a position, but I had no intention of being their safety net ever again. A week later, my mom texted me. "I heard what you told Olivia. That was unnecessary. You know family helps family. Don't be petty." Petty. That word echoed in my head. Was it petty to finally stop being used? Was it petty to choose self-respect over manipulation? If so, I was happy to be petty. I didn't respond. Instead, I made a post online, a personal story, not naming names, about growing up as the unfavored child, about learning to stand up for yourself in a family that only noticed you when you were useful. The story went viral. Thousands of comments poured in, people from all walks of life saying, "This is me. I feel seen. Thank you." For the first time, I wasn't invisible. I was heard, not by my family, but by the world. It didn't stop there. A month later, I was invited to join a podcast to speak about emotional neglect and financial favoritism within families. That one episode opened doors I never expected: speaking engagements, writing gigs. I even began mentoring young women trying to break free from toxic family cycles. And slowly, my silence turned into a voice that didn't beg to be loved, but demanded to be respected. And my parents? They watched from afar. I know they did, because my cousin mentioned they brought me up once during a family gathering. Apparently, my mom said, "She's changed. She thinks she's better than us now." They were wrong. I didn't think I was better than them. I knew I was freer, because I had taken back what was mine. Not the money, not the stolen birthday cards, not the years I would never get back, but my voice, my worth, my future. And that was something no one, no matter how many honeymoons they paid for, could ever take from me again.